So I'm going to be investing over 20,000 Great British Pounds, about 26 to 27,000 USD, into Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies over the next 12 to 18 months. This is despite all the recent controversy that has been threatening Bitcoin's reputation over the past few weeks and months. Here's why. Right, so what controversy are we actually talking about here? I've been hearing crazy conspiracy theories about how Mr. Private Island Man himself had early involvement in the creation of Bitcoin. People think that Epstein is Satoshi Nakamoto. So the hypothesis is that he had created the coin in order to use for transaction and payment for illicit activity, which is kind of similar to that old narrative that Bitcoin is used by criminals for criminals. And I know this narrative is annoying to hear, but for people that don't know, it basically stems from Bitcoin's early history, where it was used by Silk Road, which was the first modern dark web market. Essentially, Bitcoin was the only accepted payment method for transactions involving drugs, weapons, stolen data, etc. Silk Road used Bitcoin because it was the only functioning digital payment system at the time that didn't require permission from banks, was irreversible, and at the time was thought to be anonymous. And so when the FBI shut it down in 2013, they seized 144,000 Bitcoin, which ultimately cemented its image as a currency for some serious criminal activity. But back to Epstein. Attempts to claim that he was the man behind Bitcoin this whole time, that he holds the true identity of Satoshi Nakamoto, is beyond crazy. It is quite an interesting theory, I won't lie to you. People are saying that Bitcoin is the biggest scam of the 21st century. Bitcoin will go to zero. Hedge your bets, cut your losses, take profits now before everything falls apart. This, that, and the third. Essentially, people think that because Trump hasn't released the Epstein files, that there could be something incriminating linking Epstein and Bitcoin. At the bare minimum, there could just be a mention, a name drop of Bitcoin as a currency used during his criminal activity. But again, people really think that Epstein could be the man behind Bitcoin. You might have seen that one Dan Pena video where he was saying, oh, if only you knew the secret behind Bitcoin, if only you knew the dark history, you wouldn't be able to sleep at night. And then you go into the comments and there's people saying, yep, Epstein, CIA, blah, 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 blah. But I don't know, in my opinion, this theory has no real basis. And in fact, it doesn't even hold up from a technical perspective. I and millions of others believe in Bitcoin as an asset from a fundamental level. It's important to remind ourselves why we have put our money into this asset in the first place. The blockchain is completely public. Every transaction ever made is permanently recorded and openly viewable to everybody. If Bitcoin had been created as some kind of hidden payment system for illicit activity, I don't know, I think that would have been a stupid decision. Transactions are irreversible, traceable, and leave a permanent digital trail. That's exactly why law enforcement was able to track funds, identify wallets, and successfully prosecute people who had been assuming Bitcoin was anonymous. The criminals during the Silk Road fiasco. So what I'm saying is Bitcoin doesn't hide activity, it records it forever. And designing a transparent, auditable ledger would be a strange decision for someone trying to operate in secrecy. And so linking back to why I am going to be investing over 20,000 Great British Pounds into Bitcoin over the next year. Bitcoin was made to be a store of value, coded with a fixed supply of 21 million. Deliberately emulating gold in the sense that scarcity over time will drive demand. But this is the main thing. Unlike gold, Bitcoin is digital, portable, divisible, and verifiable. You don't need to trust central authorities to tell you how much exists or who controls it. The rules and limitations are written into the code itself, and that's the core reason why intelligent investors believe in it from a fundamental level and aren't fazed in the face of negative market sentiment. Bitcoin offers something that the traditional system does not: a scarce asset that serves as a hedge against inflation. It cannot be frozen, intercepted by the banks, or altered. I mean, the very worst they could do is to lock you up. Then I guess you can't invest in Bitcoin, you can't send Bitcoin, but that's a whole nother discussion. Another reason for negative market sentiment is due to regulatory pressure. So government's cracking down on getting taxes sorted, make sure no one's avoiding tax. And yeah, this is a fair criticism to an extent. I will make a full-length video on security and how to protect your assets, but the underlying point is to put your money onto a cold wallet, get it off the exchanges, make sure it's secure. I mean, I personally don't plan to sell any of my cryptocurrency. I plan to ride it out, dollar cost average, and then eventually get a loan off the value of the Bitcoin. But the reason I'm bringing up regulatory pressure is because people are looking at it from just one angle. They're looking at it from their perspective and not thinking of the wider implications. The governments and the big players are looking into Bitcoin because they see the opportunity. Big companies are hoarding right now. They're buying up all the Bitcoin, and soon I don't know if there's going to be much left. And what you need to understand is that the big players do not play fair. They manipulate the markets, drive down the price to ultimately buy a big bag when the market's down. This is literally what Baron Trump did. Baron Trump is Trump's kid, by the way. This is literally what happened when Trump was tweeting about the tariff wars with China. While our portfolios were bleeding, this guy dropped a big sum of money into the market. I can't remember off the top of my head, he made something like 180 million, 140 million off that one event. We all know it was him, let's be honest. And then a similar thing happened with the tariffs in April of 2025, but it's what they do. You should know that by now. If you're in the investing space, if you're in the finance space, you should know that this is what they do. But just because the big players manipulate the market, it doesn't mean that it's going to affect all of us negatively. When the big players make moves, it's an indicator that they know something that we don't. Yeah, you can say that the government's cracking down on Bitcoin holders, but what does that say about the crypto space going forward? If the big players of the world have faith in crypto going forward and are hoarding up on as much Bitcoin as they can, why aren't you? I'm going to say it again. If the big players of the world with information that you do not have are hoarding up on Bitcoin, why aren't you? And it goes back to my point. These events, this information can be looked at in multiple different ways. Don't come with your bias in thinking that the government's cracking down on crypto. That the government have ruined everything. They've got their dirty hands on crypto. It's over. We can just no longer benefit from it anymore. That's just not the case. And besides, sideways markets, bear markets, these are the times to pour your money into the markets, because this might be the lowest price of Bitcoin that we're going to see for a while. And yeah, maybe Bitcoin will go down to 40k GBP, even 60k. Again, GBP, I don't operate in dollars. But as long as you believe in the fundamentals, like I was saying, and a dollar cost averaging in what you believe in, you shouldn't listen to the noise. This is where your wealth is being built. In markets like these, in times like these, when there's uncertainty and not a lot of movement going on, this is the time. So when controversy surfaces, whether that's through price volatility, government regulation, or speculative narratives, please separate the noise from the fundamentals. Narratives change quickly, but the underlying properties do not. And as long as those fundamentals remain intact, I'm going to continue to invest. Remember what Buffett said: be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. Go against the current, fight the emotional crowd. Buy undervalued assets when panic selling creates bargain. Focus on long-term intrinsic value over market sentiment. Guys, please look in. Have faith in the fundamentals. Continue to invest. I'm going to make a longer full-length video on why I believe Bitcoin is the greatest asset, but I just wanted to get this video out after hearing just a little bit too much yap. If you found this information helpful, drop a like, join the new Cheesecake channel. If you disagree with any of the points, drop me a comment. I'm always open to a respectful back and forth.